the Blame Game precon gives us two fantastic new commanders. One of them is Nelly Borca, the other one is the new Feather. Regardless of which one you choose, they both have an amazing potential for attacking, which can be further improved with some upgrades. A very peculiar trait you get from Feather is the value she brings to standard favorites Sucker Punch cards like Monstrous Rage and Redmo's Ire. Now think of all your favorite single target red and white spells for 1 mana that can make Feather Radiant Arbiter, an even better commander choice than Nelly. But why stop there? Etali's Favor can trigger multiple times as well, giving you a nice Discover 3 with each copy. Another great spell you can cast targeting Feather is the Sound of Drums. The cool thing about it is that you can cast the copies on your opponent's creatures and they get goaded, meaning they will attack the other opponents. Speaking of goading, Taunt from the Rampart makes way for your attackers, and until your next turn you don't need to worry about blocking your opponents because they'll be attacking each other. Very useful when your creatures become a bit too powerful and deal noticeable amounts of damage. Expect to become treated as the biggest threat quite a lot and prepare for that with even more spells that keep you safe. The Fairy's Protection is a classic, which gives you complete immunity, and since it's an instant, it can be cast the moment you realize that one of your opponents is going to be all out in an attempt to take you out of the game. You can also use Clever Concealment, which is far less expected by your enemies because of the Convoke mechanic, allowing you to cut the mana cost significantly. This allows you to, for example, block with your creatures, then tap them to Convoke, then cast Clever Concealment to phase them out unharmed. Nelly Borca makes it so that your opponents attack each other, but there's nothing stopping you from aiding them in that with your own creatures or benefiting from their attacks. Aurelia the Law Above draws you cards whenever a player attacks with 3 creatures, and that includes you as well. That's not the only Aurelia card that works well in this deck. Aurelia the War Leader gives you 2 combat phases instead of 1. Very useful if you want to take out one of your opponents but don't want to tap out in the process. The second combat phase can be less reckless and you keep some defenders, for example. There's another Aurelia card that is worth mentioning, Exemplar of Justice. Giving your creatures trample and vigilance might be a game changer depending on how big the said creature is. For example, Karlov Fury of Avernus would be a 7/4 with trample, and Iroas God of Victory would be a 9/4 with trample and vigilance. Both of these cards would make excellent additions to the deck. It's not all about having big threats on the table though. Because of how the opponent's creatures are going to be goaded constantly, you can focus on getting the board advantage. Thalia Heretic Cathar is the cooldown you need to prevent your foes from overwhelming you with the numbers of permanents in play. Making your opponent's creature come into play tapped makes a huge difference, especially when it prevents the newly cast creature from blocking. Serra Ascendant is a fine addition if you want an early defender that's a 6/6 flyer with lifelink, provided you didn't already get hit hard by your opponents. Try to slow your opponents down as fast in the game as possible. If you don't mind your playing group hating you for playing this, Mages of the Moon turns all your non-basics and the opponent's non-basics into mountains, meaning they can only produce red mana from that moment. For some, this could be game over if they don't have any basics of their own color or mana rocks to somehow compensate for the lack of thereof. Since attacking is the theme of the deck, why not get more attackers and benefit from them easily with cards like Adeline Resplendent Cathar? She's not only a powerful attacker but also a much needed blocker because of vigilance. Animpakal can become a huge threat fast, which was proven by how fast she can generate those tokens even in standard. Loyal Unicorn allows you to attack without much consequence, so you might want to include this fellow in the deck as well. For more goading action, the obvious choice is Grenzo Havoc Razor, which benefits a lot from those swarms of tokens from Adeline and Animpakal. Bailoff is very pricey to cast for 5 mana, but think of all those treasure tokens he generates for you. Treasures you can sacrifice for glowing dwarf emissary and goad even more creatures, that is. Bothersome Quasit adds even more chaos as it makes it so that goaded creatures can't block, taking out the vigilance problem among enemy ranks, but also adding value to your non-creature spells being cast, as that also provides some extra goading action. Once your opponents are all out on each other with their goaded creatures, why not make them even more powerful with Death Kiss? Now they not only deal damage to each other, it's double that damage. Besides, it's a nice incentive to have your opponents attack each other with their ungoaded creatures because of the bonus damage they would get from that. I know that getting those extra attack phases from Aurelia and Karlov are neat, so you might as well add some more of that action with Seize the Day, especially when it has a flashback. Be sure to like the video if you found it helpful, and if you know any cards that you feel would be great additions to the deck, the comment section is open for discussion. Have a great day.